Welcome into this episode of Entrepreneurial Shades of Gray. We are so happy that you're with us today. I'm Chelsea Sayason alongside my co-host Danny Dials, and we are all about to learn a lot, especially about the city of Mobile and the Mobile Chamber and how we get some of these big businesses right here to the port city. And Danny, we're about to learn a lot today.
I am looking forward to the conversation. Our guest is making such an impact along the Gulf Coast in terms of economic development. Her name is Miss Kayla Byrne, and she's joining us today fresh off of the announcement that she's receiving an amazing award for Mobile Bay Magazine's 40 Under 40.
Kayla, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're super happy to have you. We've got lots of questions. Danny, you can go ahead and start off.
We do. Well, first, you are officially the Director of Business Development for the Mobile Chamber. And just for people who may have no clue what that entails, can you just kind of summarize, maybe so that a teen could understand it, what it is that you do at the Chamber?
Yeah, so within the Chamber, our economic development team serves as the recruitment arm for the city and county. So me personally, I'm over recruitment of companies, like industrial companies to the area. Economic development in a nutshell is really just growing jobs in the tax base in the community, recruiting these companies that are paying high-paying, well-paying jobs to create jobs for people in the community. So that's kind of my role at the Chamber as far as recruitment goes, but our team touches all different kinds of facets of economic development, from workforce, talent attraction, existing industry, you name it. But I think kind of to a teenager, it's recruiting companies that are creating good jobs.
So for you personally, you're going out and you are pitching the city for businesses to come and bring their businesses here, or are you vetting businesses that want to be here set up in Mobile, or both?
I'd say a little bit of both. So over the past couple years, with a lot of the infrastructure kind of improvement projects that have been happening in the city and county, like moving the airport, deepening and widening the port to 50 feet, you're getting a lot of these companies from out of town that are seeing these investments, and they're like, hey, wait, tell me about this. Like, I need to ship my product through Mobile, or I ship it through another port, but it may make more sense for me to do it through Mobile. And I heard you have a site or a building available. That beats where I am right now. Like, they don't really understand. They think it's too good to be true, like what we have going right now. So some of it is that, where it's like companies that are already interested in Mobile, and we're kind of vetting them and helping them make a decision. And then also some lead generation of us going after certain companies as well.
So are you guys essentially like the middleman between like the city and also these potential companies that want to make the move?
Yeah, so we're contracted to do economic development for the city and county.
Right.
So we work with them heavily, but we do that on their behalf. So we are essentially the middleman between the city governments, county government, and then these companies.
So you're the person that says yay or nay when a business comes in?
The people, team of people.
The team, you're the
But
team.
yeah, we're vetting them, making sure it's a good fit. We have targeted industry sectors across the county, like industry sectors that have been in place for years, and what makes sense. And do we have a site that works for you? Is your company a good fit? Do we have the people, the amount of people you need to hire, the types of people you need to hire, and what these certifications and training looks like? So helping vet that process to see if it's a good fit.
This is a big deal. We got a press release sent to the news station that was saying that you specifically, under your leadership, have contributed to thousands of people getting jobs, billion-dollar investments in the city. Are you able to share a little bit about some of those projects that you've been able to lead?
Yeah, so several of those have been over the last, 3 or 4 years. And a lot of what makes the headlines are the big companies, so like the Austal Airbus projects that do hire, these thousands of jobs. But a lot of those investments coupled together is what makes up, $1 billion of investment. That could be 30 different companies that have come here and hired people. It's not just like one company coming in and investing that. But like I said, across all these different industry sectors, it's aerospace, it's maritime, it's metal manufacturing, it's distribution and logistics, and it's all of those in between. These smaller companies that are hiring, 10 to 20 people. We've recruited companies that, have only had a location across the world, and now their, only North American location is in Mobile, and we build relationships with these companies, and that's really where kind of the fun part comes in, is building the relationships with these companies and then seeing that all come to fruition.
So cool. In that press release, you were named one of North America's top 50 economic developers by Consultant Connect for 2025. What does that mean for you and your team personally?
It's an honor. My boss was named that several years ago, and it's cool to travel to some of these trade shows across the country and meet people like us who are doing this in their communities. You know, you look through the list of some of these people that were named, you know, like by Consultant Connect or in 40 Under 40 in Mobile Bay, and just like see the impact that all these people have day to day in their roles. And that specifically was economic development, but we're all just waking up the same every day and going to work to try to make our communities better. So it's really special to receive that recognition.
Congratulations, by the way, on the 40 Under 40. That's it's very impressive. How did you get involved with the chamber? Did you come in at this role, or did you start and grow?
No, I started as our marketing and research manager, and I just fell into it. I mean, a lot of people do not. There's a handful that go to school for economic development, and then most people just fall into it. I fell into it. It was just out of college, a role came up, and I was like, yeah, I'll give that a try. At the beginning, I did not know what I got myself into. It was very overwhelming. I mean, I'm from Mobile, so like you see Austal and Airbus and all these big, you know, like headlines coming across, but you don't really understand like how they got here, what the impact is. And so it was really cool when I got to the chamber to see like, oh wow, people are actually behind the scenes recruiting these companies and fostering relationships with them and working with them every single day. So I quickly got up to speed and was like, okay, no, this is actually really special. Like this is impactful. But I did not think or plan to be in this position by any means. But I kind of fell in love with all assets of what we do in economic development, and here I am.
What's your typical day like? I could imagine that there's a lot of pressure.
Yes.
What is it like for you? Typical day. Walk me through it.
Today's been pretty quiet, but typically there's not a typical day. So sometimes there are, you know, days from 7 o'clock to 10 p.m. we're with a company and we're hosting them on a site visit in Mobile. You may be in meetings with, you know, utility partners or a rail provider or the landowner, and then you're going to see the site, and then you have to eat, and then you have to go back to the site and answer more questions, and it's just kind of meetings after meetings of seeing if these companies or company is interested in Mobile.
How long could that process take, by the way?
From like start to finish? Years.
Yeah.
There's still some that, you know, you may be working with them for 3 to 4 years and think that it's really going to happen, and then something out of your control happens, and then they don't end up coming. Some happen within months. You know, some are like, I know I need to be here. This building works. I'm going to get started. And then again, some take 3 to 4 years. But typical days could be anything from that to just, you know, meetings about infrastructure. Like a lot of these companies, you may have a site that works, but there's so much work that needs to be done to it that you're taking weekly meetings with partners to say, okay, how are we going to get this road built to this site so that this company can invest $30 million and hire 15 people, you know? So there's like meetings that take place weeks and weeks and weeks and sometimes years just to get to a point where a company can then locate.
For people who are watching, I feel like when I was in college, I didn't really know what I wanted my major to be, and marketing was part of that. And I knew, like, obviously the importance of marketing and the magic behind it. But for you specifically in this world, do you feel like school specifically prepared you for this kind of economic, not to, you know, go yay or nay to any school, but this kind of marketing? Because I feel like this is so specific. Or did you just have to start and learn as you go?
It didn't prepare me specifically, I mean, on the economic development front, but like thinking of it from just selling your city or selling your community. In a way it did, because you kind of go back to like, you know, product, place, you know, like the 4 Ps of marketing, and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm using some of this when I'm trying to sell my community. Like if you're thinking of yourself as a salesman. So it did in a way, but you just have to apply it to real world, and you sometimes don't get that in the classroom.
Right.
I'm thinking about it from the calendar perspective, because you're saying that, you know, you've got the meetings and whatnot. Your calendar in a day, if you're going back and forth like this, it's a lot. So how many clients can you like negotiate with at a time typically?
that's kind of the beauty of like I always think, every time we go home for like Christmas and we have like a break, you're kind of like reflecting on your year and you're like, okay, we may have had 10 companies announce this year and like put roots down in Mobile, but you may have been working with those people 5 years ago. So like some of these relationships that you're starting in 2026 may not show up until 2029 or 2030. So you're kind of reflecting and thinking about like how those relationships have an impact. And like some of our day-to-day work again is so long term. Like you may not see that come to fruition in your time at the chamber, or some of the projects that I may have carried across the finish line, like I didn't start. So yeah, some of the negotiation, you could work with several companies at a time, and your day could consist of several conversations with several different companies. Like you get off one call or out of one meeting with one company, quickly transition to the next, and they're not related at all, but you're just trying to get a little bit closer to that, sometimes start line, not even finish line.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you typically look for specific types of industries, or is there a certain industry that you would love to bring more business from to the Gulf Coast?
We just use our target sectors. I mean, we're fortunate across the coast that we have a wide variety of sectors, so we can go after anything from, aerospace. We have a large presence, metals, chemicals, logistics and distribution, given our proximity to the port and rail systems and highway systems. So we're pretty fortunate to have that diversity in industry. So we're not just targeting like one certain type of company already. So we're pretty fortunate in that area.
For our media executives here, when they're working with their clients, I think you guys become students of what, you're representing, especially here at Fox 10 and with Gray Digital. For you specifically, are you feeling like you're having to learn all of these different industries and the ins and outs of it just to try to get them to come here if it works for our city?
Yeah, it's challenging, I mean, like I said, you get off one call or out of a meeting with an aerospace company, and then you're quickly like, okay, we're talking to this chemical company. And you don't have to be an expert in every industry, but you have to know enough to be dangerous and know enough to, okay, I need to call this person for this next step. But yeah, it's challenging. I mean, chemical is a good example. Like it may be a company that we have here that produces some sort of product, and this company could co-locate with them and be a supplier of a certain product, or like their byproduct they could use. And it's like, well, I didn't go to school for chemistry and I'm not a chemical engineer.
Right.
So you kind of have to know enough about what they're doing and just who to call, and just having a good relationship with your partners to figure some of that out.
When do you know when to turn a business away? How soon in the process does that usually take?
It depends. I mean, it depends on what they're looking for too. Like if we just know right off the bat, hey, we just don't have a site that's going to work for you. Like if the criteria is like we need a certain railroad or we need a certain acreage and we just can't meet that, I mean, we're going to tell them up front, like, hey, we can't meet that. Here's maybe some other sites if your criteria is flexible. If not, there's been times where we've passed them along to other communities, like neighboring communities or parts of the state, other community partners, like, hey, we can't serve this company, but we think it may be a good fit for you. So it really just depends on what their criteria is at the time.
Yeah, learning a lot today from all this. For you specifically, as you continue to do this, like, what is the goal for you and your team just to increase, our businesses here on the city of Mobile? What's the goal that you guys work towards every day?
Yeah, so we set from a recruitment standpoint, we set certain metrics through our 5-year capital campaign that our team handles. Certain number of jobs recruited and making sure that those jobs pay well. Like we're looking at average salaries and, median household income and all these different metrics to make sure that we're bringing in jobs and, well-paying jobs that meet those criteria. So we have certain metrics like that of, recruiting a certain number of companies or at a certain threshold and, again, making sure they pay well. And aggressive targets. I mean, if we've recruited $1 billion worth of investment over the past several years, like we want to keep up that momentum as best we can. But just getting creative with how we market Mobile. I mean, we know we're at a time, we call it kind of the golden age of Mobile, where all this exciting stuff is happening. Mm-hmm. So just kind of staying excited about what's to come and getting creative with how we continue to market our area.
Chelsea and I just did a podcast episode where we kind of reflected back from when we started this podcast, and we talked about things that we've learned since we started. When you think back over your career at the Chamber, what has that season as a whole taught you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been there almost 7.5 years, so kind of going through different jobs, and now ending at this job. It's just really like, again, how impactful this work is and how lucky I am to be able to do this. A lot of people just don't understand like what we do and how some of these companies just overnight, like they think they just appear. But it's sometimes, again, years worth of conversations and maybe traveling to see a site that company currently operates in, and would that be a good fit here, and just meetings after meetings with partners and determining if it would be a good fit here. You know, does it make sense? Does it not make sense? And really fostering those relationships. But it's just really impactful work to wake up every day. And I'm from here, so it's like a community that I'm from and grew up in, and, you know, want to continue to see thrive.
Yeah. I did want to ask you, too, since we're quickly approaching Mardi Gras season, or when this airs, we may be in it, or it may be behind us. What is that like? Is that ever like a selling point for you guys?
It is,
too?
yeah. We all the time make sure to throw that in there, that we are the birthplace of Mardi Gras. But it is, because, you know, we don't have certain things that other communities do, like events, the Masters, and so all these things that like draw people in where it's easy to, but that's Mardi Gras for us. So we use that as a selling point for either companies or just like, hey, if you're thinking about visiting the area, either one, like come during this time because it's a great time, or two, avoid it because you're not going to be able to get a hotel room. But yeah, we do use that as a fun selling point to companies.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about the 40 under 40. When did you find out that you were going to be among this prestigious group?
I was on vacation in Italy.
Oh, goodness!
My husband and some friends, when my boss told me. And so it was a shock. I was like, oh, that's really incredible. Because I didn't know that I was, you know, being nominated.
Did you find out who nominated you?
It was him. My boss, I think, or my team.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet, yeah.
But yeah, they called me when we were in Italy. So it was a good surprise for sure.
What does that mean to you personally to be acknowledged in this way?
I mean, I remember when I started at the Chamber, seeing a colleague in their office, like the little plaque that said 40 under 40. And I just remember thinking, like, I don't really know what that is. Like, I know that you do great work and that's really awesome and people think highly of you. So I always remember thinking, like, that would be such a cool honor. And so I was just thankful that my team, you know, sees me in that light and nominated me amongst others who are probably far more deserving with the work that they do.
I don't know, sister.
I'm telling you.
It sounds like you deserve this.
You're definitely up there. You deserve to be on that list. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Super exciting. Danny and I also like to talk about gray areas of just the different entrepreneurs that we speak with and business owners and what that looks like for you guys. What is a gray area that most people wouldn't know? What do y'all deal with day in and day out?
I mean, a lot of, again, what we do is so confidential. So, like, half the time you're working with a company and you may not know who the company is. We get a lot of these leads and these projects that we call them under code name.
I didn't realize that. I thought
you don't know who they are.
You couldn't disclose who you're working with, but you don't know who you're working with.
Sometimes we don't. Like, I mean, I can't disclose it, but
Right.
up to a certain point, I may not know who I'm disclosing. Like, I don't know who it is. It comes in under a code name. So
do you do guessing games like The Masked Singer? You're behind the scenes trying to figure out who the company is?
There are some times where we may have an idea, but sometimes we genuinely have no clue. Like, you'll know the industry sector, maybe, and then all the parameters about the company, like maybe what they make or where they're headquartered, what they need in a site, all these different criteria that we take into consideration. But you may not know who they are. Sometimes we've had like visits where we don't know who they are until you get to a certain stage, because they're just vetting hundreds of sites. You know, they'll down select to maybe 15 or 20 and visit those communities. And sometimes you still don't know who it is. And at that point, like as a community, once you do figure it out, you can say, okay, that's not a good fit for us. Or you might be like, wow, that is really an interesting project. Like we would love to continue working with you to see if this is a good fit.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes we don't know.
Wild.
Do you ever, are you able, well, are you ever able to like not turn it off? Because I imagine do you work with companies like in different time zones? And so when they're reaching out to you, it's after hours, or how do you manage your personal calendar and your time so that you can turn it off sometimes?
It's hard. I mean, I can think of one right now that's the time zone is very difficult. I mean, I try to, 5:30, turn it off. If I have to do like a call after work or early morning calls, by all means, I do it. And when we travel, it's different too. Like when we travel, you're not on your time zone anymore. You're like, but it's hard. It's taken a lot of challenging myself and kind of forcing myself to like turn my brain off, and because you can get so wrapped up to it because some of it's so out of your control. So you're trying to make these decisions and help companies make decisions when it's so far beyond our control that I'm like, okay, I have to just turn it off.
Right.
Yeah.
And then too, I imagine the time limit situation when you don't know if it could take a couple months or 5 years or whatever, like mentally, physically, you have to force, I imagine, yourself to turn it off because it could just consume.
And things come up that, again, not in your control, but like it could be going perfectly with your conversations with the company, but something with another partner or something within their company, it's like, hey, actually, we're just not considering this project anymore right now. And you're like, I thought it was going so well, So it's like stuff like that where you cannot control it.
Yeah. How is it? Because for me, if I'm working on something with a prospect and it falls through, it's a bummer. It does not, like, it affects me because you've already invested so much time and energy and effort. How is that for you when things don't go through? Does it affect you mentally? Do you need to like go get a massage? What's it like?
I remember my first project that fell through. And I probably worked with this company and this consultant for about two and a half years.
Oh, gosh.
And it was, again, just something internally with the company. But we thought we had it so buttoned up. And it was out of our control. But looking back, I learned so much about that industry and the site specifically that they were considering that now, like, I could talk about that site in my sleep. And I remember at the beginning of that project, I was like, I don't know anything about this site. Like, how am I going to pitch this to this company? So looking back, like it all happens for a reason. You learn so much about different aspects of what you're doing that it'll prepare you for future projects. And now I have a vested interest in like, okay, well that didn't work on this site, but I think this is such a good site. Like something will come there eventually.
You're good, girl. You just let it go. I'm mad a little bit.
It's hard. It's hard. It's hard.
Not to take it personal, I imagine. So
it's a part of it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I feel like I've learned so much. This is just one of those, the parts of the city of Mobile, like I just never thought about.
Right.
Like to your point, like honestly, I was like, oh, I guess this business just wants to be here. That's great.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes, there's a team of people.
Work behind. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our full-time job behind the scenes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for everything that you're doing. Congratulations on all the accolades. And
thank you.
We're wishing you all the best.
Yes,
thank
girl.
you.
Kayla Byrne in the house. Thank you so much.
This episode of Entrepreneurial Shades of Grey is brought to you by Honest Air Plumbing and Electric.